Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
I'm Anna Manuel. Thank you for joining us. A state of emergency declared for Chemung County in response to the migrant crisis. Our Maggie Hall has the latest on what this means for our area.
Chemung County Executive Chris Moss has declared a state of emergency for the county. Today marks the end of Title 42, a COVID-era policy that basically undid the right to seek asylum in the United States. Now, with the end of Title 42, counties across New York State could be potentially facing an influx of thousands of migrant individuals. The state of emergency is due to the fact that Chemung County simply does not have the resources or housing available to safely accommodate numbers of people into the thousands. The state of emergency prohibits businesses from making contracts with any entities to provide housing or providing the transport of migrant individuals into the county. Contracts can only be made under the Chemung County Executive's express permission. Besides housing, basic needs such as nutrition and medical care would be unable to be properly provided. New York City Budget Director Jacques Jiha has announced that the city has spent over $800 million on addressing the sudden influx of migrant individuals. FEMA is also directly aiding in the migrant crisis in the city as well. According to the county executive, the state of emergency is in place to prevent such a crisis, and Executive Moss claims that Chemung County is simply not equipped to handle such an influx of individuals. Big Fox News will continue to bring you updates on this developing story. Maggie Hall, Big Fox News, Chemung County.
With just hours to go until Title 42 expires, multiple sectors are reportedly over capacity. And as Caroline Shively reports, the southern border is bracing for even more migrants to try to enter the country in the coming days.
Hundreds of migrants passing through Gate 40 in El Paso on Thursday to turn themselves in for processing. Here they board buses and vans before being brought to intake centers or shelters. As Title 42 comes to an end, immigration authorities will refer back to Title 8, which could prevent migrants who illegally cross the border from entering the U.S. legally for 5 years.
If anyone arrives at our southern border after midnight tonight, they will be presumed ineligible for asylum and subject to steeper consequences for unlawful entry.
Customs and Border Patrol sources tell Fox News that on Wednesday they apprehended more than 10,000 migrants illegally crossing for the third day in a row. As of Thursday morning, 28,000 were already in federal custody. Those numbers dropped in the hours after that as facilities conducted mass releases.
Our other concern is that Border Patrol is not able to focus on national security or border security while they are overwhelmed with the sheer numbers of individuals coming across.
In areas with overcrowding, border sectors can now request approval to release some illegal migrants into the U.S. Those individuals are then told to self-report to ICE within 60 days to begin asylum screenings. But some question whether the changes will be effective.
They have the right to petition for their day in court, but they don't have the right to be released into the United States. And that's the magnet that's drawing all these people.
More than half a dozen border sectors were over capacity as of Thursday morning. In El Paso, Texas, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
A Hornell man arrested after police say they discovered he was having sexual intercourse with a minor over the last year. Wayland police first received a complaint about 48-year-old Angelo Hurlburt in August of 2022. Following an indictment by a Steuben County jury, Hurlburt was arrested on 16 counts of rape and other child endangerment charges and was brought to Steuben County Jail. Following National Fentanyl Awareness Day, the Steuben County Health Department has released opioid overdose data for the month of April. 40 overdoses and 3 fatalities were reported over the last month, making April the deadliest month so far this year. 9 administrations of Narcan were also reported in April, as the Steuben Health Department continues to push Narcan training initiatives. Those seeking help for opioid use can contact the County Health Services. Massey's Garden Center is celebrating its 95th year in business. The Garden Center is a 4th-generation business. It began in 1928 and is going strong to this day. Located at 246 Victory Highway in Painted Post, the Garden Center has everything from garden decor to seeds, plants, and landscaping help. The City of Elmira has issued a reminder to residents about the city's sanitation pickup. According to the Department of Building and Grounds, residents who are opted in for the service can have 6 garbage bags that weigh less than 30 pounds each picked up every week. Garbage and recycling should be placed in front of the residence, between the sidewalk and curb for collection. Organic yard waste is not considered garbage and will not be picked up by sanitation crews. Instead, you can drop these items off at the city compost center. New York Republican Congressman George Santos returned to Capitol Hill today after pleading not guilty to 13 federal criminal charges. He's out on $500,000 bond and vowing to stay in Congress, resisting calls from his own party to resign. Santos is charged with wire fraud, money laundering, and theft of public funds. He calls the charges a witch hunt. Santos faces up to 20 years in prison if convicted, but he is still planning to run for re-election next year, although House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says he will not support that re-election bid. Friday's meeting between the Big Four congressional leaders and President Biden has been pushed to next week as the battle over the national debt continues. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and other key House and Senate leaders were slated to meet with the president to continue negotiations over the embattled national debt ceiling. Staff-level talks are expected to continue through the weekend, and the postponement may actually signal some positive developments, according to White House and congressional aides. The Treasury Department has warned that the government could default as early as June 1st without a compromise. The Centers for Disease Control reports there are 2 cases of highly contagious, drug-resistant ringworm infections in the U.S. Ringworm is an easily spreadable skin infection that can create an itchy, scaly, ring-shaped area on the skin. Despite its name, it is not caused by a worm, it is caused by a fungus and can usually be treated with topical medication. These 2 drug-resistant cases are the first of their kind to be reported in the States, and both were detected in New York City. The new species of the ringworm-causing fungus has been causing infections in South Asia, and the CDC says the fungus has gained resistance to drugs over time. A large chunk of Gen Zers are working multiple jobs to deal with the rise in cost of living. A new study found that 40% of workers born in the late 90s to early 2000s have at least 2 side hustles to make ends meet. Gen Z is not the only generation doing this. The study found 36% of millennials are also working multiple jobs. The number of Americans working multiple full-time gigs hit a record high last August, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Still ahead, we have your complete forecast. Plus,
a new patch could help treat toddlers with severe peanut allergies. I'm Kevin Cork. I've got details on that and much more coming right up.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
A gorgeous day was definitely developing again. Now, we were seeing at times over the last few days that we had a little bit more of a hazy sky around due to wildfire smoke that was within the upper atmosphere from wildfires that are all the way out across western Canada. Now, we did see definitely brighter blue skies around, some of that afternoon cloud cover development, but for the most part, we were watching temperatures feel summer-like. And we'll watch that again set up as we roll into that Friday forecast, as even through the overnight, we stay very mild, only a low into those lower 50s as we'll be quickly back underneath that sunshine and watch those temperatures soar again as we could even top off into those mid 80s. We have a light wind around, so that means that sun is really going to warm up that surface. So make sure you're wearing that sunscreen, pack extra water. We don't have too high of dew points, so we shouldn't be dealing with too much when it comes to those humidity values, but still on the warmer side, especially for this time of the year, where our average sits at 70 degrees. That's about 15 degrees above average then. But we are going to say goodbye to this heat. So if you like summertime heat, enjoy it. Because what we're seeing set up is that throughout our Friday, what we have is this high pressure system. So with that high pressure system in place, that keeps our skies clear. We also have this frontal system to the south of us that's going to allow for that southerly wind to stay intact. However, this cold front to the north of us is stronger than the system that's to the south of us. So that is quickly going to drop across the state into Saturday, kicking out that system to the south of us and keeping us mostly dry, but it is going to usher in some cooler temperatures. As we even look at the extended forecast that brings us through May 21st, it is showing a cooler than average temperature trend. So although we've been making some big strides to bring these temperatures back to and above average here through the early portions of this month, now we're going to be talking about a little bit of a cooling trend as we work towards the end of the month. Now, it's not going to be frigid. The good news is that with average sitting at 70, it means that we're going to hold temperatures more into the 60s, which is still pleasant. It's just not as warm as we've been experiencing. So as we look into that Saturday forecast, we start to see those changes where we're not going to be cold again, but you start to feel the change from 85 for our Friday to Saturday only holding to those mid 70s. You also note that there are some of those rain shower chances there. With that passage and some moisture flow from the south, there's at least going to be a chance of maybe an isolated shower, especially Saturday night or Friday night into Saturday morning, but the accumulation is going to be little to nothing. But as we continue to stay underneath that northerly flow through the weekend, that is going to keep temperatures a little cooler into Mother's Day. Again, still pleasant for this time of the year. By the afternoon, we're still climbing into the 60s. So getting outdoors for maybe Mother's Day is definitely going to be good. Note that at times winds aren't too gusty, but a little stronger at times, 10 to 15, maybe a few 20-mile-per-hour winds will be noted from the north, keeping us, again, holding slightly below average, which will continue to extend into next week, where there will be another frontal system passage that will be timing out come on Tuesday, where we're seeing again maybe a few isolated showers possible and another push to keep those temperatures into those 60s.